There are beings which looked like free, liberated, by which the meditation played a role as a sadhana. So I understood also that meditation was necessary in order to see that it does not work by most of them. But not by all, so I did not, you know what I mean. By Zen masters, for example, there was this so extreme sadhana with, and then as a result, something is out there, really seeing, recognizing I cannot get it through this, and this giving up is the liberation.
So everything is good. I am not against meditation, I am not against yoga. Everything is good. But you have to go away from that. So for the time being, as a foundation, as a preparation, everything is good. Everything is beautiful. So afterwards, some samadhi state, some meditative state, some energy field, everything may happen. Let it happen. But we should not have any concern over that. We should not have any effort over that. Everything must be natural. That is, for example, there are some water channel maybe there in our house. For some wastewater, we have some channel for the flowing of water. Then the water may flow in the channel. And if you block the flowing water by your hand for certain time, the flowing water will accumulate. So after the accumulation of water, if you remove the hand, the water will have some force. So if you do not have the block, the water will not have some force. The natural flow will be there. But if you artificially create some block in the flowing water, the accumulated water will get force when you remove the hand. So in this way, our meditation will create some artificial flow in our liberation. So thereby we can understand some taste, what is the nature of liberation. We can feel like this. But at the same time, we need not always we need not go to the use of artificial liberation. So the natural liberation is enough. Then because of our very nature of our mind is in the liberation, because of our misunderstanding we are struggling. We are doing some disturbance, we are causing some disturbance.
Yes. In past, for me it was like equal, meditation equal liberation. So this I did not understand previously. So now I'm more clear about it.
I'd like to continue on with her point.
Okay.
Because you hear so many teachers, and you're one of them, who said, I did 40 years of practice, hard sadhana, I did 30 years, I did 50 years of sadhana, and then I just said, forget it, and I gave up. And I think this is what happened to you. You had it finished, gave up. And so every teacher who's in that situation, and there's many, say that the meditation, there was no relationship between the meditation and the liberation itself. And yet, they all did their 30 years, their 40 years, their 50 years before they gave up. So it seems, even though it may not be a cause and effect, it seems there is something that looks like a cause and effect there, that I did it and I got fed up and I gave up. So, and we have to see this for ourselves, in a sense, that we just give up. So, is that meditation of any value, or that hard, long sadhana of any value to get us to the point of giving up? Or is it of absolutely no value whatsoever, because it seems there's a relationship.
But the main reason for the meditation is that so we take a different kind of lifestyle, because otherwise we will have the different kind of lifestyle using liquors or drugs or anything to set ourselves in. But we are in a different line. We are prepare ourselves and we have a disciplined life. So everything, for many things it is helpful. But the only wrong thing is that we are relying the meditation for our eternal salvation. That alone it will not give. But the other thing, it gives us more than 50% help. So the final help alone it cannot give. So the meditation cannot give us the final help. For that we have to take away from that, take ourselves away from the meditation.
I think it's a very good point he's saying. Every teacher, all the greatest masters have done a lot of meditation. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years they do. And then they attain some state of liberation for whatever reason. And then many teachers will say, look, actually that's not necessary. Liberation is free-flowing, it's natural, it's Samathi, it's natural, don't bother with that. But they have all, without exception, have put in that 30 years of time or 20 years of time. They have all been seeking for 20 years before they say, you don't need to seek. I don't need to seek. So the question he's asking is that work of 20 years, is that preparatory work? Is it almost as you're preparing to come to a point where I say, no, I don't need.
No.
That if you have to go through that to come to a point where you say, actually now I don't need, or we don't need it. That is this question.
But,
am I right?
Yeah.
But everybody is needed. This work is needed. Yoga is necessary. Meditation is necessary. Preliminary, as a preliminary work, this is a must. Without this, we cannot be there. Otherwise, you must be in a torturing problem. Further, if anybody is in torture of his problem, if anybody is in the agony, whether he is in seriously in psychological problem, that person did not have this preparatory work.
Right.
They can directly come to that realization. But as an ordinary person, this is the ordinary way. That's the natural way. We have to go through meditation, doing practice, doing many sadhanas, everything necessary, everything is useful.
Because it gets quite clear over a period of time that it can't be the result of effort.
Yeah.
It can't be the result of effort. That's very clear because that's a movement of mind. So it's time, it's mind, it's all of that. But it seems that the effort has to be done to come to that understanding that I have to stop it. Or we talk with someone like you who says, hey, you don't need it because of this. And then we contemplate it and maybe see for ourselves in that moment. And then we're aware of the liberated state. But even that's rare. That's rare.
But in my case also, I also have the idea that liberation and enlightenment is keep myself always in the blissful state.
That was your idea.
So for to keep myself always in the blissful state, what I have to do is to do some meditation.
Yeah.
So whenever we have to be in the blissful state, naturally you have to do some meditation. So if you do proper meditation, naturally it will lead to the permanent bliss consciousness.
Right.
So in this way also I tried. So certain times the bliss consciousness may last for hours together, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes it may last for days together, 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, or 15 days. But but I have the intention that if it is lasting forever, then I can declare that I am all right.
Right.
So, but once it happened like this, I cannot be free from even bliss consciousness itself. The bliss consciousness came to me, has not go away from me. So I was permanently with the bliss consciousness. So then only I know the problem of bliss consciousness. So it slowly affects the health of my body. So then only I doubt. So if it is real, if it is worth attaining, how can it destroy the health of our body?
Yeah.
So it must give health to our body. Instead of giving health to our body, how it capable of destroying the health of the body. So I doubt the status of the bliss consciousness is so. Then only I come to understand. So the enlightenment, liberation is not at all an experience. So when I come to a conclusion, then it is not an experience. And when I realize what is the enlightenment, what is liberation, then only wherever I look, all the masters are saying the same thing. Before that, I have also idea. Every masters are also interested upon creating some bliss consciousness forever. I also thought like that, and when I thought like that, I have the teachings of many masters that they are also longing for that. They are also advising permanent bliss consciousness. Right. But after my understanding alone, when I looked here and there, every master is using the same word that we have to go beyond experience. The enlightenment liberation is not at all an experience. It is free from all experience.
Free from all. So we really do see only our mind. Our concepts. Because Nisargadatta used to say, he's a bit different, because like I said, many teachers say there's no relationship between the liberation and the process of sadhana. And yet Nisargadatta, he says that you do, he emphasizes meditation, as you know. And he says the fruit ripens slowly, but it drops suddenly. So he's making some relationship there, that the sadhana does have some importance as a ripening process.
So in the last session, we are going to criticize the masters. So because many masters are doing many wrong things. So that is the cause of our problem. So that we are going to deal with in the last session. Okay. That is the confirmation session. Okay. So they are not doing it consciously. Unconsciously they are doing so many mistakes.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was about different types of meditation. Because there's the one type of meditation that many people at one time have noted about, where you just put your attention on one object and you keep your attention focused on that object, so it's single pointed, like a candle or a deity or a flower, whatever it may be. Just keep your attention focused on that one object, and that can create a type of samadhi over a period of time. Then the other type of meditation isn't that at all. It's more like a vipassana or a witnessing type of meditation. And it seems that the results of those two are very different.
But here the main thing is that, for example, you are looking at the flower. So with focus of attention, you are looking at the flower, and you are focusing your consciousness there. The consciousness is focusing there, and when you are focusing your consciousness, you remove the flower from here. Then what will happen to the consciousness? The consciousness will be there, but without any object.
Right.
For example, you have some torchlight, torchlight, and you focus the torchlight to some object in the night. You can see some object. Through the beam of the torch, you can see some object in the dark. But at the same time, you can focus the torch here and some there, and afterwards you focus the torch to the sky. Can you see any object? But some beam is there.
The beam
is there. So the beam is the consciousness. So here, all meditation is to keep you in the consciousness without any object. So for the time being, you may select some object. For afterwards, you have to be in the consciousness itself, without any object. The consciousness itself is the subject. The consciousness itself is the object. So the subject and object is consciousness itself. So that is the meditation. That is the final stage of meditation.
Right.
The beginning we can focus any attention, focus our attention to the thought, so the gap between thought, or something, some focusing point of our chakras or any part of anything, that may be different. But the main thing is that we have to be in the attentive state, not without any object.
Yes.
Without, no object must be there, some attention must be there. Keeping our consciousness without any focusing point. So keeping our consciousness in a waking state, so that is, the pure consciousness is the sleep state or the Anandamaya kosa. When you keep the consciousness without any object, that we are activating the Anandamaya kosa in the waking state itself. And there are many kind of meditation, but the core substance, the central point is keeping your consciousness without any object. That is the central point in all meditations. But if you are focusing meditation in certain points, in chakras, that you are creating some activity, some energy, thereby you can create some special kind of sensation, special kind of powers.
Right.
So that is different.
Yeah.
But with pure meditation, the nirvana samadhi state or nirvana samadhi or anything, that is keeping your consciousness alone without any object.
With an objectless meditation.
Yeah. That is the real meditation.
Right.
Yes.
So do you have any comments on that, or will you talk more about that later? About the validity of objectless meditation? Because that in a way is what Bhagwan was teaching, is objectless meditation. That's the goal of it.
Validity of the usefulness.
Pardon?
You use the word validity, but wouldn't it?
Well, the usefulness is good.
yeah.
Do you see any usefulness in that
Yeah.
objectless meditation?
So we have to start with some object.
Right.
Then only we can remove the object itself.
Right.
Then afterwards we can, our consciousness has to look into the consciousness itself. So the beginning and end is consciousness.
It's everything related to Anandamaya kosha.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is related.
The consciousness itself on the micros.
Yes, and observing the consciousness, the Anandamaya kosha.
But in our sleep, it is there without any direction, without any focusing point. But in our waking state, we use our consciousness with some focusing point. So we take it as the waking state. Basically, the consciousness is same. Both in waking state, both in dream state, both in sleep state, the consciousness is same. But in the sleep, there is no focusing point. There is no object to be seen.
So the meditation, correct me if I'm wrong, when we get into this state, the object, when we get to the goal of meditation, of being in this objectless meditation, it's still not mananasa because we're keeping.
Yeah.
The active word there is we're keeping. And what you're talking about is freedom without keeping.
Yeah, but all working, whatever may be, we may give even a polite name, but even understanding, even enlightenment is a kind of Manolaya. Even enlightenment is Manolaya. Only liberation alone is Manonasa. But enlightenment is a great thing. Meditation, everything is a great thing, good thing. But at the same time, everything is Manolaya. But we should not undergrade, we cannot degrade Manolaya. Everything, Manolaya is good, but the next moment must be free from Manolaya. That is the thing. So we can make use of the Manolaya. Manolaya is good in itself. It is not good and bad. But in how we take it is without Manolaya we cannot live. We cannot, all our enlightenment, all our discussion, all our meditation, everything is Manolaya. All our doings are in the form of Manolaya. But the main thing is that we have to free from Manolaya, that is the liberation.
I want to expand on what you were saying for myself. In meditation, you said consciousness becomes aware of consciousness. The object disappears and consciousness becomes aware of consciousness. Consciousness is both object and subject.
Object and subject.
In that space, when you're there is an expansion that happens. There's a feeling of expansion.
Yeah.
And in that expansion, thoughts whatever they may be, thoughts become very small. It's almost as if this room is this big, and in deep meditation, the room becomes 10 times this size, and the objects in the room stay the same size. But the space becomes very large.
Right.
So the thoughts become inconsequential, they're not important. They come, you can see that it's almost like balloons bouncing around. They have no impact on you. They come and go. Then after you finish meditating, let's say for 30 minutes or 1 hour, this state continues for some time. If I do this, say twice a day, will it not lead to a state where I can be in that natural state of watching thoughts flow? Exactly what you were describing, which is I don't interfere with thoughts. That non-interference of thought flow, whatever it may be, it comes, it goes, that space when it is created, does it not help us in allowing these to see and not be attached to those thoughts? Because they come like you said in one of your books, of like it's like smoke coming from incense. Like a agarbatti, udubatti, smoke coming out like that. We are in a state where we allow, it doesn't affect us. Does it not help you in training?
So everything helps, but at the same time, you have to give up even that. Because wherever we are doing, we are maintaining something like this, some effort is needed. So here we have to, in the final stage, we have to be without any effort. So no iota of effort is necessary. So we have to free from all effort. So whenever the effort comes, we select something. So all selections, because if we select, we will select the good thing alone. So that's the problem. If you are able to select the bad thing, that doesn't matter. But we select only good thing. We will select the pleasant thing. If you are able to, if you are able to select the unwanted thing, then everything is okay. But that's the problem.
And for those of us sitting here, the word "we have to" is like the trick, because even you are still saying we have to get into.
So we have to discuss like this, otherwise we cannot have any understanding. So we have, here also we should not select anything. This understanding is also a kind of selection, that we should not select anything. So the word, we have to use the word like this.
That is a limitation of language.
Language.
It's a limitation of language.
So that, back to his description. So when the meditation is progressed like that, where the space is just vast space, and the thoughts are coming and going, but they have no real solidity to them. Within that space, what is that space? Is that space itself still an expression of the underlying reality, or is that space just the space? Is that space that you mentioned, the vastness itself?
But here, the space is getting importance is that that means we have to free from object. So when we give importance to the space means free from the object. So between the object, space is there. So that is the reason for giving importance to the space. Actually, if you look into the space, then you create the space itself as an object.
That's
you
true.
take
And that's a
the
problem,
space itself as an object. So we should be without any object. We must be without any object.
Right.
So that means object means Manolaya. So all Manolaya, we should not give importance to Manolaya.
Right.
That is the main thing behind that. So actually the basic thing is not the space. The basic thing is the sensitivity. The sensitivity we cannot imagine, we cannot connect with space. Space is, we define space, but we cannot define the pure sensitivity.
Right.
So space also arising out of that. This feeling of space is also arising.
Everything is
arising out of that.
Is arising out of that. And yet the space seems uncreated.
It's uncreated.
But here, the importance of space is that we should not give importance to the object.
Yeah.
That is the main thing.
That's the importance of the space.
That's the importance.
It comes back to Sumairu.
It comes back to
I mean, because in some ways, it's like the state of deep sleep. If you could be in a state of, not as a state, but as a stateless state, in deep sleep, in the waking life, is that what you're talking about? In a
So
sense?
it is in the meditation, you are in the, once again in the, even though you are waking, you are sleeping. While you are sleeping, but at the same time you are waking. That is the state of meditation.
Yeah.
Right, but the natural state, I mean, because I think when he was talking about the natural state,
Natural state is
it's a stateless state, in a sense. Because it's
Stateless
not
state.
something, it's a stateless state. because
Stateless
it's
state means
not created.
Stateless state means everything is part of the stateless state. Because whatever comes, it is a state, but the next moment it is not a state.
Right, so
that is a
it's
stateless
rising and
state.
evolving, right. So, but the state of deep sleep is where there's no awareness of object and no awareness of subject.
Mm.
So if, in the waking state, can we be like that? Is what you're talking about, allowing the free flow, being as if?
So we need not be in the sleep state, we need not be in the Anandamaya Kosa. Whenever the freedom is not related to the Anandamaya Kosa. So it related to everything, even the consciousness may be part, our thinking may be part, our struggling may be part, our even the bliss consciousness may be take the part. So everything is part. It is the part. It is the whole of the.
It is, but we're not doing anything about it. Like in that state, we're just allowing the free flow,
So
or not even allowing the free flow.
not
is just
allowing,
there.
but it is happening. Some happening is there. Whatever happening in ourselves is in the free flow. There is nobody to allow anything.
Right. Yeah.
The person who is allowing must be in the flow. He should not keep himself in the bank of the river to allow the river. To allow the river, he must be also in the river. There should not be any bank to contain the river.
In your teaching, when we are saying that there is flow, we are part of the flow. And yesterday also I used the word allow, and you said no allow. But in some way, is this teaching not saying that there is some sense of allowing? Because I must not interfere.
No.
Not interfere is to allow, is it not?
Yes.
So I'm saying I'm not interfering.
But here,
because of the teaching, I'm saying from the teaching point of view.
because the words are, anyhow we have to,
Work with them.
use the words, we have to use Manolaya, but with the help of Manolaya, we are trying to understand Manolasa.
That's right.
I think the key keeps going back to helplessness.
We spoke about Manolaya, Manonasa. Actually, Manonasa is a conception of Manolaya. Actually, there is no Manonasa. So even liberation is a part of Manolaya. So there is no such thing as Manonasa itself.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So that's the flowing of Manolaya.
That's all.
Manolaya comes and goes.
Yeah, that's it. That is
That's
Manolaya.
Manolaya.
That is lubricated flow of Manolaya is liberation.
Yeah.
So there is nothing like Manonasa or
Yeah.
getting out of it. Only Manolaya is there.
Manolaya.
Now it is frictioned Manolaya. And now when liberation state is a lubricated flow of Manolaya.
Yes, that is great point, because cannot be two two expressions for something. Just flowing Manolaya.
So we can know only Manolaya and without Manolaya. So the movement of Manolaya means Manolaya comes and disappears. So that alone is there. But when we keep Manolaya, the problem is in the Manolaya. And the liberation is also the free flow of Manolaya.
Because the mind cannot know the unknown. So whatever it says the unknown is part of the known.
No.
Yes.
So something conscious, third state, fourth state, everything is a part of mind.
I noticed that in your, following on from what you just said, in your teaching, you don't mention the word heart. And I think I certainly have an experience that is, I don't know how I would ever describe it, but I'm happy to use the word heart to try to attempt to describe a feeling that is not quite in the mind, but it's still. And I notice that you don't. A lot of masters use the word heart, bring the mind into the heart. That kind. I notice you don't use that. Is there any reason that you don't choose to? We haven't had any discussions about what the heart is, whether the heart is the self. Can we actually feel the heart? That's a topic that you don't choose to go to. Is there any reason?
Heart.
Heart.
Heart. So many people use the word heart for consciousness. They use the word heart for consciousness. Instead of using the word consciousness, they use the word heart. Thought and feeling. Consciousness is heart and thought is mind. They use the like this. The intellect and